A lot of people are enthusiastic about Kanye being in Haiti and having the goal to build a city in Haiti. Do you know how many cities you have in Haiti?
Dim.
I don't know how many. There's too many for me to count, right? But here's the thing that I have my heroes that have created cities,
Yeah, yeah.
not only in Haiti, but in America.
Oh, wow. Yep, that's true. That's true.
And we as Haitians, we don't build cities, we build nations.
Yes.
We build free nations. We provide freedom to nations.
Yes.
Why? You must don't know who you are. Okay? Having red and blue on May 18 doesn't make you Haitian.
Yes, treach.
As Captain Haiti, I don't claim all of y'all. Most of you, whenever you mention that you're Haitian, okay, you just spit in the face of Dessalines, of Louverture, etc. Because what you will do, you claim that you're Haitian only when you see other nation mentioning your name. It's more important to you when you discover what we have done in other nation than to discover what we have done for ourselves.
Yeah.
You put Haiti last. You're more impressed on the fact that you have an international star, which is Kanye. Most of you gonna say that I'm hating anyway, okay? But I'm not hating on Kanye.
You l'as pas acheté figi Kanye?
Ah, oui, I pas acheté Kanye. But I'm not hating on Kanye. I'm hating on you.
Because where are we?
I also want to talk about Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. That was the moment that I wanted to use Bitcoin, when I saw Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill.
Why?
It's like when you just see like all the slave movies, it's like, why you gotta keep reminding us about slavery?
I'm hating on you. I'm not hating on Kanye. Kanye is doing what he's supposed to do, to provide for his family, to expand his culture. He wants to buy land and build a city because you gave him the money to do so.
After a decade-long earnings analysis, Forbes can confirm that Kanye West is worth $1.3 billion. Though West grew famous for his music, his fortune comes mostly from his Adidas-powered Yeezy sneaker line. West receives around 11% royalty of Yeezy revenue, which in 2019 was close to $1.3 billion. West owns Yeezy outright, while Adidas manufactures and distributes the shoes, a dream team setup. As the markets begin to recover after free-falling in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, Adidas shares have surged, and so did West's wealth. Let's not forget his nice things: private jets, Lamborghinis, his new Wyoming ranch, and the Los Angeles home he shares with wife Kim Kardashian West. After crunching the numbers, we think it's safe to finally say Kanye West is a billionaire.
Oui. Ça Kanye fait, mais pas capable de faire.
Ça le fait le bac à faire.
Oui, oui.
And you know, he went to Adidas, he struck a deal with them, etc. He sold his album. And this guy, he's a creative genius. You cannot take that away from him. And most of the things that he say, you want to put it in another frame than his genius creativity.
When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? You know, like, it's like we're mentally in prison.
As Haitian, we chose freedom.
When the time was right, you hear French soldiers talking about a guy jumped down the cannon today, and these are the people we have to fight. The sheer terror of like, we're fighting people who've decided now liberty or death. They've decided they are willing to die for their freedom. And this is one of the most fascinating questions about any revolution, but about the Haitian Revolution in particular. What makes people decide at this point, we're now willing to die for an idea, but we weren't yesterday?
He's coming to Haiti. We're leaving Haiti. What a role reversal is that?
Well, here's the thing. I remember that back in the days, okay, we went to America and we bought some slaves to bring them in Haiti. 75% of them decided to come back to America. okay, they didn't want to be Haitian. Here's the thing right now. To come back to Kanye, okay? Kanye wants to build a city in Haiti. We provided Chicago to Kanye.
And the DuSable Harbor, the DuSable Museum, and the DuSable Bridge are just a few places in the city named after Chicago's first resident.
So Krista Rose takes a closer look at his life in today's Did You Know?
Facts about Chicago's first settler are scarce. What we do know about Jean-Baptiste Plante DuSable is that he was born in Haiti around 1745. And yet other accounts have him living in Haiti until he was a young adult. It was in New Orleans that DuSable would make connections with trappers and traders moving up the Mississippi into what is today Illinois. It's here in what is today Pioneer Court that DuSable set up a home and a prosperous fur trading post. Traders used to come from all over the region to trade at the mouth of the Chicago River. DuSable served everyone from French to British to Native Americans, and he spoke half a dozen languages and dialects. By all accounts, he became a wealthy merchant, and though his home was modest outside, his property boasted bacon smokehouses, stables, huts for employees, a garden, and even an orchard.
So what is impressive of somebody from Chicago going back to his roots to found another city and a country that we have founded? We don't found cities. We don't create cities. We create nations. We provide liberty. So when you are out there claiming to be Haitian without the content, without the culture, without the soul,
Without the passion, without the love, without the ability to see past just a flag, but to see the future and stop being so cynical. Because if you ask the average Haitian, right? Haitian American, Haitian wherever, they don't believe in the future of Haiti. They don't think Haiti has a future. Until a person like Kanye goes to Haiti and then, oh yeah, there's hope, but we're the hope. Those of us who are in the diaspora. It's up to us.
you're right. You're 100%. The future of Haiti is us.
If we give up on it, we have access to the resources. We have access to a different worldview. And we can apply that by believing in our nation. It didn't have to stop at our revolution. We can have a revolution today. Why should we only take pride in 1804? We've got, like you said, we've got 1914, we've got 1937, 1915, 1947, 1950, 1965, 1963, 1995, 1776, 1803, 1806, 1816, 1825, 1862, 1822, so on and so forth. We have a lot to be proud of.
A lot. But you know what? What's missing there?
What's missing?
What's missing there is 2020. What's missing there is 2021, 2022. But I will say 2020 because that's the launch of Haiti Coin. Haiti's new currency.
What is Haiti Coin? Tell me about it.
Haiti Coin, okay, to understand what Haiti Coin is, you have to understand what Bitcoin is.
What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency. Bitcoins are digital coins you can send through the internet. Compared to other alternatives, Bitcoins have a number of advantages. Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person via the net, without going through a bank or clearinghouse. This means that the fees are much lower, you can use them in every country, your account cannot be frozen, and there are no prerequisites or arbitrary limits. Your Bitcoins are stored in your digital wallet, which might look familiar if you use online banking. When you transfer Bitcoins, an electronic signature is added. After a few minutes, the transaction is verified by a miner and permanently and anonymously stored in the network. Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing. When everyone has access to a global market, great ideas flourish. Let's look at some examples of how Bitcoins are already used today. You can purchase video games, gifts, books, servers, and alpaca socks. Several currency exchanges exist where you can trade your Bitcoins for dollars, euros, and more. Bitcoins are a great way for small businesses and freelancers to get noticed. It doesn't cost anything to start accepting them, there are no chargebacks or fees, and you'll get additional business from the Bitcoin economy.
All right.
Bitcoin appeared 11 years ago. it was worth 5 cents for 1 Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it's the money of the internet. Okay? So if you go back 11 years ago, we're going to 2009, internet was prevalent, but not as prevalent as it is today. But as today, internet have progress, right? Internet is everywhere. Bon, même Haïti get internet, right? Everybody's connected to Wi-Fi somewhere, etc. So, internet, the infrastructure of technology, of information, have extended. So, what worth 5 cents in 2009, today for 1 Bitcoin, you need $11,000 to get one of them.
That's amazing.
I was talking to a brother, a Black American brother, earlier. I asked him, what do you know about Bitcoin? I don't know enough to invest in it today. But here's what I know. You know what he said?
He said what?
He said, I don't know enough to invest in it today. But I know enough to say that if I had invested 10 years ago, I'd be a millionaire today.
Wow.
Okay. So I asked him, so if 10 years ago, you would have invested in it, right? And today, you refuse to invest in it. What have changed? He said, I don't have $10,000 to buy some Bitcoin. And I said, do you have $18.04 to buy some Haiti coin? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, for 1 penny, you can own 1 Haiti coin. Now imagine how much a Haiti coin will worth 10 years from now.
And what did he say?
He said, how much? I said, listen, you don't know enough for you to invest in Haiti coin today. But if you don't invest today, you're going to regret for it in 10 years. So that's what Haiti coin is. Haiti coin is for Haitians. Parce que nous toujours en retard.
Yeah.
Okay? We're always late to the party, right? Haiti coin is the opportunity for Haitians to not miss the Bitcoin opportunity a second time. Because Bitcoin is about to jump off the roof because of they are reshuffling the world economy right now. Everything is going digital to go along with the internet. Less people are working on site. More people are working from home. So the economy have to adjust to that new reality. So now you're going to have more digital money. Haiti coin is that digital money. It's the money that if you buy it today, the value will grow so much that you won't have to work even from home tomorrow.
Sounds pretty amazing.
But Haiti coin as well, if you put it in the Haiti's context today, okay, it's the coin of the people. It's the coin that if we send it to Haiti, the government cannot touch it. It's the coin that if you put it in the people's hand, they won't even need to give a coup d'etat to the president of the country.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The security. You know, right now, in terms of security, picking up money in Haiti can be a very dangerous situation. How does Haiti coin help that?
It's very simple. I send the money straight to your phone. And you have a password. And most phones right now, you need a fingerprint to open the phone, right? So you put your fingerprint, you unlock your phone, right? Or you have a password to get access to your phone. Now, guess what? You have a wallet, okay, in your phone. The same way you have a wallet to put your money in your pocket, right? So now the phone become your pocket. And the wallet, it's an app that you download on your phone. And when I send money directly to your wallet in your phone. And guess what? Your wallet also have a password that is different from your phone's password. And your wallet also have a fingerprint that could be different from the first fingerprint of your phone. That means every phone is a bank account. So when it comes to the security in Haiti, you don't have to send, if I want to send you $100, right? I have to go to the CAM. I have to send you the money. You have to go pick up the money, right? And Then once you have the money, you have to make sure that nobody's following you going in and going out.
Wanki Delima. Il te tiré sur un monde qui t'a sorti fait une transaction la banque, mettel 3 ka mort pour te ka prendre enveloppe comme là. Devin pour lui, la police mette dans bacotte.
Right? So once you got the $100, you send it 100 US. When you're in Haiti, they won't give it to you in US. They will give you the money in gold. So all that gold, okay, because it takes 100 gold to make a US dollar. If I send you $100, it's like I'm sending a grenade to you in Haiti, because you're gonna walk around with all that money.
Yeah, you're a target.
You're a target. So let's say you make it home safe, right? Everybody knows that in this house there's that amount of money. And guess what? They ain't gonna wait too much time to get into your house to get access to that gold, because that they know that the gold is losing value every day.
This is Dave. Dave has his eyes on a beautiful 1978 Ford Pinto, barely used. It's a bargain for $24,000. In a world without inflation, Dave could simply save $8,000 a year for 3 years, and he would have exactly what he needs to buy his dream car. But what happens when we add 3% annual inflation, the historical average in the U.S.? The price of the car jumped from $24,000 to over $26,000, an increase of more than $2,000. And that's the curse of inflation. Your money is worth less in the future. Take a common household item like a table. In 1913, the price of a table was $20. Today, that same table would cost you $470. That's an increase of 2,253%.
Inflation is hitting the goal. So here's what it is for security. When you send a Haiti coin, first of all, I can send it from my job. It take me 2 minutes to send Haiti coins to my loved ones in Haiti. Or from home, any time of the day, and they receive it within 30 minutes in their phone. Within 30 minutes on their phone. And guess what? I don't have to pay the Haitian corrupted government $1.50 just to send money to my loved ones.
Mwen fè 2 transfer mater. Yon pou $100 mwen ba ou malere. Ki di mni gran gwa ak famin. Yon pou $150 pou 2 fami. Yo pren $50, yo pren $50 la.
Ok, yo pren $50 nan kam transfer et ou voye comme là ou yo pren $50 la.
Oui.
In Haiti, when they're going to receive that money, are they going to give them $48.50 or they should receive $50? Ok, bagay yon di nou encore. L'éclair, contre le code, madame, ou même qui sont pour un code, est-ce que tu peux prendre la semaine en Haïti?
Oui, je te comprends.
Ou tu ne pas monter visage ou pas de problème? On allait.
Oui, je te comprends. Hier, m'a envoyé $50, je pas prendre la donne, je prends Haïti dans meni.
Ok, ça veut dire que Western Union Kounye, l'argent ça te envoyé pas force d'aller encore.
Non.
Et vous entendez ça monsieur a sorti?
Oui, m'entendez
ça. Qui ça monsieur a sorti là?
Monsieur a dit comme ça que par les si yo changé li, ou pas supposé prendre $50 là sur ici, mais Haïti tu pas supposé prendre.
I don't have to pay Western Union 8% or Unitransfer 8% on the money that I'm sending to my loved one. I don't have to pay you to feed my family in Haiti. And guess what?
What?
When I send them that money, I'm not sending money that is losing value. I'm sending them money that is gaining value. If they use that money to buy some banana, to buy some pouldu, to buy some rice that is grown from Haiti, then they're gonna empower their own. Because the money is in their cell phone, is in their hand now. They don't have to go through corrupted government or white institution in order to live. Haiti coin is the money of freedom.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's a lot to sit and think about. I mean, who wouldn't want to be free, right? The money of freedom, what a beautiful name. Why did you pick 1804, by the way, in terms of how much a person can invest in this Haiti coin?
For the symbolism of 1804, okay?
Okay.
So we had political independence, but now I want us to have financial and economic freedom, okay? Not independence, freedom.
So in terms of the Haiti coin, what is the long-term, vision for this, and what do you have so far in terms of investment?
We're going to free our people first financially, and then we're going to free the world financially. That's the vision. Okay? And there's no other people to do it than us. But in order to do it, we have to assume our position. Right? We don't need to celebrate. Instead of using $18.04 to buy bandanas and walk around and voyagou ad monter, we can use $18.04 and being Haitian discreetly, right? But with more power and empower our own.
Yeah, and another thing about those bandanas, didn't you say that those are not even made in Haiti by Haitians?
They made in China.
If we want to really invest in our empowerment, you're saying it's not about the symbolism.
It's not about symbolism. That's why entertainers, singers, actors, athletes, etc., okay, most of the impact they're going to have on the revolution, it's a revolution of symbolism. There's no real impact.
There's only so much they can say, right?
Let's say today, a Haitian entertainer sends $18.04 to one of the 2.7 million millennials in Haiti, aged between 23 and 38 years old. He's just being a nice guy. Now, let's say he does it in front of a camera. It's a publicity stunt. Let's say he motivates 1 million Haitians to do the same. Send $18.04 to 1 million millennials in Haiti. Yeah, it's a stimulus package. But if, on the contrary, we get 1 million Haitians overseas diaspora to send 1804 Haiti coins to 1 million millennials in Haiti, you have an economic revolution. Why? Because the value of the Haiti coin will grow in their pocket, and because you own Haiti coins yourself, the value will grow in your pocket as well. That's what Haiti coins about. They have in Quebec what they call the Révolution Tranquille. It's a slow revolution. But it's a revolution that they have won through education. It took them 2-3 generations, but now they own their territory now. They own their culture. So, you got me talking a lot, and this is not an interview, my friend. Okay, this is...
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm a little insecure about that, but I could try sharing my views.
Okay,
yeah, why not?
So let's talk about your insecurity. What makes you insecure right now?
There's just this thing in our culture and just in the world around you that, sometimes I internalize the way I'm perceived.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel like I'm being perceived as inept, as if I'm dumb, sometimes I end up fulfilling that prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a matter of, am I actually that person? But just, like it could be anything from, wow, you don't sound like you understand the language. So that makes people not want to even speak the language, our language. Or how when we... those of us who are born in the diaspora, là we parle Creole, and if we have our accent doing it, we get laughed at. So that makes you feel discouraged. And I think because I know how Our people could be very judgmental. I am nervous. I am insecure about it. I'm not gonna lie. And that's why I'm recording, but it's just a matter of, do I feel it's as fluid to speak it, and do I feel like I'm going to be made fun of if I, speak in our native tongue? So yeah, it's hard.
But here in the United States, I had my insecurities because of my heavy accent. Okay, until I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger speech talking about his accent.
In bodybuilding, I said, I want to be like Reg Park. I want to be a Hercules. I want to get into movies. Well, I tell you, when I met those agents and managers, their reaction was, oh, Arnold, that is so funny. You want to be what, a leading man? Oh, come on. I mean, look, first of all, let's start with your body. You're gigantic. You're like a monster. And then your accent, oh, it gives me the chills just listening to your German bullshit. Come on now. Have you ever seen an international movie star with a German accent? It doesn't happen. Forget about that. And then your name, what is it, Schwarzen Schnitzel or something like that? People are gonna storm the theater and the movie houses because Schwarzen Schnitzel is starring in a movie. Oh yeah, I can see that already. Imagine that. Everywhere I turned, they said, no, it won't happen, it's not gonna happen, and forget about it. Luckily, I did not listen. I started taking acting classes, English classes, even accent removal classes. I ran around all day saying lines like, a fine wine grows on a vine. All of a sudden, I got a little break. All of a sudden, I got a TV show. A little part, then another little part, and then Pumping On and Stay Hungry, and then of course I landed the big role of Conan the Barbarian. So finally I got the big break. And you know what was so interesting about it was the director said at the press conference, if we wouldn't have had Schwarzenegger with those muscles, we would have had to build one. And then when I did Terminator, James Cameron said, the I'll be back line became one of the most famous movie lines in history because of Arnold's crazy accent, because he sounded like a machine. So as you see, everything that the naysayers said was a liability became an asset. Ignore the naysayers.
For me, it gave me freedom because he said, hey, I took an Austrian accent and I made it a brand. And at one point, he was the most paid movie star in the world. So it's not about the accent, and that really helped me to not care anymore about the intonations, or sometimes I mispronounce words. Sometimes I put a word in plural when it doesn't need to be, okay? But it's about the content. If you're not wise enough to go through that and go figure out the content, the value of what I'm providing you, it's on you, it's not on me. So that's what I will tell them right now. Tell them. Tell them. If you don't, repeat after me. If you don't.
If you don't.
Get over.
Get over.
My
mispronunciations.
Fuck you. It's on you.
That's that part. Good. Because whenever you have diaspora speaking Creole, they're always met with some kind of a cynicism. That is, if they weren't raised with the language, then it's like, oh well, you don't. What are you saying? It's a running joke in our culture to make fun of people like that.
Bonsoir. Ça qui passe côté papa. He went to system airport là. The airport. Oh, still pas qu'on parle Creole? What you mean? I'm parling Creole right now. I'm parling Creole. Et puis tout le temps on gagne drapeau haïtien dans tête tout. Wap chanter Sweet Mickey, wap manger griot. Mais on pas qu'on parle Creole. What are you talking about? Cat man, who pas want? No, I just can't. I can't speak it like Mbaka parler like you, but moun comprend when I talk. Who comprend, right? Ok, pon numéro pour papa. Ok, what is it? 718.
And that can be discouraging.
Yeah, but you have to.
Because they want to keep in touch with their roots, but how can they do that if you're not going to be welcoming? You know what I mean?
How old are they when the people doing that to you?
Actually, I was just reading a post of this online, you know, on one of those Haitian pages, and it was a post about whenever someone who's not from Haiti speaks Creole, and it was showing people laughing, and they were young.
Listen.
So it's supposed to symbolize that they can tell the difference, and that they just think it's, you know, you're too Americanized or whatnot.
What saved me is my mom. Okay, and also I went and lived 2 years in Haiti when I was 12 to 14 years old. Okay, from 1986 to 1988. But when I got there, I understood Creole very well. I just couldn't speak it. My dad was forbidding us to speak Creole. Yeah, my mom, my late mom, she was like, no, ou ka kontrole bouche yo, non pas ka kontrole oreilles yo.
Yeah.
So she would always speak to us in Creole. And she speaks French. She spoke French fluently and English. But to us, she will speak in Creole. So we know about the language of freedom. Because that's what Creole is. And any Haitian that ouais, Haïtien qui a pris Haïtien parce que yo parle créole nan drôle.
Oui.
Depuis on blanc parle même créole nan, yo content.
Yep, I know. They celebrate every time.
That's so ridiculous.
It's like, how come you're so easy on them?
Bon, mon cher, une question pour vous. Qui compte sorti même?
Washington DC.
Washington DC, mais quand on peut aller là?
Haïti.
So, on va le faire dans le pays, non?
On a fait un projet pour la santé.
On va faire un projet pour...
Tom Gato. Est-ce que vous connaissez Tom Gato?
Je ne sais pas Tom Gato, non? Bon, on a dit qu'on plus côté dans le pays à passer là.
Oui. On va aller Tom Gato. Il y a un monde, il est en dehors.
En dehors?
Oui, il est en dehors.
Mais est-ce qu'on remet le pays là?
Qui est Timor.
Timor. Mais quand on va parler créole?
Haïti.
Haïti? Haïtien sont dans le pays, ils viennent boire ici, ils vont parler anglais. Et puis, ou même, dans le pays, nous parler créole là, puis bien passer.
Oui, non, pas bien passer, oui.
Mais créole ou avec pas?
Maybe they feel like it's impressive. It's like, oh, he's speaking our language, but don't you know why can't it be impressive when one of us knows the language as well? Because it doesn't have to be that way.
They're in need of acceptance.
Oui.
Le besoin d'acceptation.
Yeah.
Le besoin d'être reconnu par l'autre. You see, I just dropped a little French in there.
The French I don't understand. My dad is fluent in French and Creole though.
No. The reason why I did it is because by speaking a little bit of French, I just impressed a few of them. Because for them, French is a language of intelligence.
Yeah.
I put it in the context of post-slavery disorder or in the context of white supremacy.
Yeah.
French is the language of colonization. It's the language of slavery. Creole is the language of freedom.
Haitian Creole is a young language that developed in the 17th and 18th centuries. It's a French-based Creole language, meaning that the vast majority of its vocabulary, around 90% of it, comes from French. But its grammar is mainly rooted in West African languages. Its sentence structure is said to be very similar to the Fon language of Benin. It's thought that the Gbe languages, a branch of the Niger-Congo language family, were spoken by a large proportion of the slaves. With slaves very often unable to communicate with each other or with their slave masters, they developed a French-based pidgin language. A pidgin language is a simplified form of communication that arises when people with no common language attempt to communicate. Pidgin languages have no native speakers. When a pidgin language begins to be spoken as a native language by people born in that environment, it becomes a Creole language.
Whereas pidgins are simplified forms of communication and may be limited in function, when they become Creole languages, they increase in complexity and can be used for all functions of life. Haitian Creole is a fully functional language.
Oh, Kanye va commencer la créole sous là. Why? Because he wants to build a city in Haiti. Kanye pourquoi jamais font rap en créole. Mais quand il y a Kanye pour la guerre, qu'importe créole dans rap là.
No, I don't want that.
Because there's a gain. There's an economic gain. Ou pas v'lel, but that's what's going to happen.
Well, let's hope not.
Because that's what's happening in our communities everywhere. Whenever you see a white man speaking Creole to you, you should reply in French, in English, in Latino. A Chinese speaking Creole to you, you reply in Mandarin. Because a lot of them white people, when they go to Haiti, is to rape our children.
Unfortunately, most of the pedophiles, they're dressing as clergy, as priests, as missionaries. I am so sensitive to this and so aware of all the signs that I can't sit on an airplane. I really practically have to self-medicate and become immersed in a book because I hear it all, I see it all. You know, you're not helping Haiti by going down there to stay at an orphanage that there's no background check on you. I don't know if you're on the predator list or whatever. No background checks have been done, and you're having full access to children. Several people contacted me. They said no one's talking about the children of Haiti. So it's near and dear to my heart because I've adopted 2 children that were at an orphanage run by an American who was accused over 10 times in 30 years of sexually, emotionally, and physically abusing the children in his care.
So we have an American by the name of?
Michael Geilenfeld.
Okay, Michael Geilenfeld has been running orphanage for how long in Haiti?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years. And this is a man who's been accused over 10 times of pedophilia.
Correct.
In the United States.
In Haiti.
If it's not to rape our children, it's to take advantage of our women. If it's not sexually, because they have wives and kids, etc., is to rape you economically, and that is worst. So, tout moun ka pale avon e ka pri ou le pale créole non pa occuper yo. Pa occuper yo. Because you can speak to them, you know English better than them, right?
I don't want to say that, Republicista. I don't want to say that because it sounds arrogant, but I don't think anybody should laugh at anybody, no matter what language they learn.
Yeah, you're right.
As long as we're all going to have our accents depending on where we're from, right? But as long as you can comprehend the language, I think, hey, that's good.
Listen, let's go to Haiti with your accent and your limited Creole. They're going to find it cute. Okay. Let me get rich.
I am not limited in my ear, like you said. The ear can hear anything, but it's just difficult sometimes. And it's not even difficult to speak it. It's just a matter of, am I going to be taken seriously when I do? So I don't even try in front of people, but in private, yeah.
No, use it. Oh my God, use it. You know, use your Creole. Your Kijan Dam Sari encore Anne Poetique. She said Kringlish.
To the girl who crunched her face, pucker her lips and laughed hysterically when I screamed whoosh instead of ouch in the middle of the class. After I T-boned my left pinky toe against a wooden desk that I pass by every day, twice a day, screw you. I call this the beauty of being bilingual. My tongue twists in and out of the states faster than you can blink. It has the ability to dry the oceans and bring 2 languages together to create Kringlish. My tongue is the stubborn ex-lover who sends you photos of what you're missing and you can't help but go back because letting go just sounds too damn easy to say. I speak Kringlish, and I want the world to know. Go ahead. Reveal the curious wrinkles on your face. Raise your cheeks until they're 0.5 millimeters away from saluting your lashes. Have your eyebrows high-five each other if they want to. I'll have you know, my Kringlish is the ability to love passionately in 2 different languages at the same time, yet fucks you twice if you rub me the wrong way. My Kringlish is a jump from the helicopter ride with no parachute. The picture of Harriet Tubman looking at herself in the history book. The hunger for Christmas after Thanksgiving dinner to a child, my Kringlish, is a figgy of a newborn bebe in the l'hôpital in the arms of his mama 2 minutes after being born. The motivation of hungry lions trying to catch a prey. The feeling of trading in your training bra for a real bra, my Kringlish, is a picture of that gadmayage you've had in your scrapbook since the 5th grade when your reading teacher told you to find a picture of 5 things in which you want to be when you grow up. And married was the first one. Just like mom and dad's picture on the wall right above the dining room table. Too young to ever understand the meaning of marriage, but knows that picture has been there for as long as she could remember. So whatever this thing means, it has to mean something that stays forever. My Kringlish is the Dili Blunt and Sauce Polo Tropical has been trying to make for decades. The pride in a preschooler's art. The invisible, desperate look on the ocean's face when the wind isn't there to show off its waves. My Kringlish is the shade of Jesus' teeth. Are you upset? Does the buoyant sound in my Creole accent intimidate you? Do you feel overpowered? When notice I put the ability to speak 2 different languages fluently on my resume. To the girl who crunched her face, pucker her lips and laughed hysterically when I T-boned my left pinky toe in the middle of the class. I'll have you know that being bilingual can delay the effects of developing dementia and Alzheimer's at an early age, according to studies. People who are bilingual are better at multitasking and problem solving. Last but not least, I'll have you know that cold slaw, no matter how similar it looks, is not the American version of Peekleys. Thank you.
Yeah, use your Kringlish, you know? And that's the only... and use it to navigate between the Haitian culture and the American culture.
Okay. I'll try.
Yeah. You'll see the benefit of it. I promise you that. Promise you. What's your background?
What do you mean?
Your training.
Well, I got a Bachelor's of Arts in Broadcast Journalism.
So, what is the perspective, the different perspective your training have brought you on the Haitian society?
Well, I didn't actually think of that until maybe around 2016. I was diving deeper into my identity and starting to really value who I was, because over the years, I grew up in this experience. I knew what it meant on a literal and a personal level to be Haitian. But it was just a matter of a passive experience versus a more invested emotional experience. And so that passion, that patriotism didn't develop for me until a little bit later on in life. But now, that's what I want to do. I want to use my education. I want to use the things that I've learned to share a better story of Haiti, a better story than what we're used to.
What is the story that is out there about Haiti today?
Well, from my observation, I believe it's not good. I think that people have a bunch of stereotypes about us. And everything is about the perceived failure that they think we are. They think we're, I don't know if you've heard about that Netflix controversy with the AIDS.
HIV originates in chimps. Around 1920, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, an infected chimp is either eaten or has its blood mixed with the humans, perhaps during a hunt. By the 1960s, it reaches Haiti, home to many people who work in the Congo, and who may have brought it back with them. By 1980, up to 300,000 people worldwide are likely infected without yet knowing what it is. Which leads us back to 1981, where the first confirmed cases of what later becomes known as HIV start to pop up, and a new epidemic is born.
So it's always the worst case scenario when it comes to what people think about us, to the point where it's almost embarrassing to admit that you're Haitian, depending on where you are.
And why is that? Why they always try to project the worst of us out there?
You tell me.
I'm not the one with broadcast journalism.
Well, what I think it is, because this is where it starts getting into, and this is why I said you tell me, because as a journalist, we're not even supposed to share our opinions on certain things. That's how I was trained. It's about being unbiased and neutral. But I'm going to speak not from the journalist perspective here. I'm going to speak from just me as an individual, and why I think it's like this.
So let's hear it.
I think it's like this because if we were to be confident, if we were to really know the truth, if they were to tell us the reality of who we are instead of hiding it, suppressing it, we would do what we've done again. And they don't need that to happen, because then they would lose their power structure. So the goal is to keep people undermined and spread propaganda, negative things about us, and then we internalize it, and then other groups who are black internalize it. Meanwhile, we're the key to the liberation of the world. We've done it before, we could do it. And so you don't want a people to know who they are and have them change the world, because then what happens to the people that are benefiting off of our resources? Where will they go? You know what I mean? That's just the best way I can put it without going over the top. But that's my belief.
But here's the question I have for you now, because let's say you succeed doing that, okay? So you're going to break their power structure by broadcasting our identity, our culture, our history, and our wealth to the world, right? So, given that, all these corporations that own the media, right? They ain't gonna give you a job as a journalist.
No,
or
they would not.
Anchor.
And I know how hard that is.
So why are you kissing goodbye your career as a broadcaster or journalist just to broadcast, or bring awareness on the real face of Haiti?
Because I knew and I've learned firsthand why I can't depend just on their infrastructure. Because let's say I put my name on a resume, Gershly Karen Pierre. It doesn't sound good to these companies.
Yes.
It's too ethnic. Let's say I go in a report on camera with my hair texture. They're not going to like it because it's not good enough to them. So I learned that I can keep waiting for them and they're never going to turn around because it's not going to benefit them. Or I can start believing in the future of something outside of them and make my own path and benefit myself, benefit our people, benefit our nation, you know? If we're trying to speak about, like you stated, Haiti coin and the future of Haiti's liberation, I as an individual believe in that future. And I know I'm going to benefit from that better off than I ever would have in their system. There's a lot of people in my predicament who are broadcast journalists. They applied to places like BBC, CNN, ABC, so on and so forth, and they did not succeed. Why? Not because of their skill set, not because of what they knew or didn't know, but because at the end of the day, they are going to put their people first. And if I want to have opportunities, I have to put, my people first.
Can you blame them for that?
No, you cannot. That's how you keep the power in their hands. Look, I think there's more of us with skills than we know. And if they kept giving us access, this infrastructure that they have will be overthrown. So they have to limit our potential.
Okay. Have you ever seen like a student, that was studying with you, and you see her or him on TV or whatever, or having a report in a big, publication, and that you've always been better than them? Have you ever experienced that?
Definitely. I was, okay, let me tell you this. In college, that was where I thrived. I did very, very well. I was very passionate, and I would spend the hours, late hours. I have so many documents in my hard drive that, maybe one of these days I can show you, but I was super passionate about editing, producing, writing, presenting, everything. But that season of seeking employment, it really broke me.
We've all seen the news reports and peer-reviewed articles showing what a supposed black or brown sounding name might do to your chances of getting hired. After tallying the data, the researchers concluded whites receive, on average, 36% more callbacks than African Americans and 24% more callbacks than Latinos, with no observable level of change for black applicants from 1989 to 2015. The results of these hiring discrimination studies seem to parallel other statistical gaps in black family wealth and income. In 1967, the difference in median household income for a black family versus a white family was $20,000. By 2014, that gap had widened to $28,000. A similar gap persists for college-educated black and white households. The author of the hiring discrimination study says despite a liberalization of attitudes over the years, this more subtle racial bias persists and underscores the need for compensatory policies. Discrimination continues, and we find little evidence in regards to African Americans that it is disappearing or even gradually diminishing. Instead, we find the persistence of discrimination at a distressingly uniform rate.
I knew that passion wasn't translating to the people that we're hiring. They didn't see that. They saw the outside. And that was enough for them to just pretty much know my whole story. They didn't want to see the potential beyond that.
That I am, the outside doesn't look that bad to me. So what is it that they saw on the outside?
They saw, so my hair was braided at the time. I had braids, extensions, things like that. It still isn't appropriate. Braids are not appropriate for syndicate.
Black women are 83% more likely to report being judged more harshly on their looks than other women at work.
Black women have also reported they are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from work simply because of their hair.
And when we refuse to comply to white standards of beauty,
we can be fired.
Thanks to the Crown Act, it is now illegal in 7 states for workplaces or schools to discriminate against someone for the way they wear their hair. That number should be 50.
If every state were to pass the Crown Act, Black people will be legally protected from hair discrimination.
Meaning the law would allow us to wear our hair in any way we so choose without consequence.
You have the power to make that happen. Go to thecrownact.com and sign the petition to demand that our legislators protect our rights.
This isn't just a hair issue. Hair discrimination is racial discrimination, period. Together, we can make our schools and workplaces safer and equal for all.
So they saw the braids. They did not see the accent, because the people in my industry, whether it was vocal coaches or, and if you're wondering why I don't have an accent, other than the fact that I wasn't necessarily raised speaking the language, I went through a lot of vocal training and you know, that, I went through a lot of vocal training to be a better broadcaster. And so many people in the industry would compliment me on that fact. But for whatever reason, as much as I go through this training, what's stopping them? It's not the work ethic.
Don't lie to us. Do not lie to us. Okay? It is not for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's not the work ethic.
Okay.
It's not the the quality of my sound. It is because, let's just be honest, they have biases. They have biases, and people like me cannot cross those biases. And that's not the politically accurate term, because they would rather you say, no, it's about your work ethic. Listen, it's about the fact that, you know, if I were to, you know, have access into that industry and I didn't compromise, it would change a lot of things, and they don't need that to happen.
Okay, what do you think you could have compromised on, you know, if you really wanted to have it?
Well,
more than your integrity. Possessing a job more than having integrity. So what would you have to compromise on?
You would not be able, you see how I am, actually, just to give context to the audience, I follow you on social media, you follow my page as well. You know how I speak out? That took me years. I always had, not always, but I started to develop this passion, this sense of drive to speak about these issues. You know, if I were in this industry, in the broadcast industry, at least the mainstream broadcast industry, I would not be able to say anything about this stuff. Because it's not only the matter of you can't be biased, but depending on where you are in terms of where do you work, you have a certain code that you have to align to. So if you work for, let's say, ABC, if you work for one of these corporations, there's just certain things in their code, never mind the code of ethics as a journalist, that you have to abide by. And so, that's a compromise in a way.
So you understand their code?
Yes, you understand their code. You're made to, yeah.
So tell me about Black Lives Matter then. What do you understand about the code being used on mainstream media?
And once again, this is my opinion as Gershly, not as a journalist. Okay? And so I say that as a driving point so that people do not question my journalistic integrity. This is just me.
Listen, nobody's gonna hire you, okay? You're gonna be one hiring
well,
people,
amen. Hopefully,
right?
yeah.
So be you.
Well, I don't necessarily believe anything the mainstream promotes.
Democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So if they're gung-ho about it, if they're so passionate about something or someone, I tend to be a little cynical. I tend to think, okay, why are you presenting this to us? Is there something about this that I should question? And so when it comes to Black Lives Matter, let's just be real. How can they really matter if they're not mattering in a tangible way? People walking around protesting is not my definition of liberation. And so the way they're promoting Black Lives Matter is it's as if it's the answer to everything.
But what does the Black Lives Matter organization actually stand for? To find out, look no further than their leaders, Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, and Patrisse Cullors. Here's Cullors in a revealing 2015 interview.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Visit the Black Lives Matter website and read the list of demands to get a sense of how deep a transformation they seek. One of those demands proclaims, quote, "We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another. We can't be certain, but it's hard to believe this radical agenda is what most signed up for when they made that hashtag Black Lives Matter social media post, or that every employee, customer, or shareholder at Nike endorses a disruption of the family."
And that's when you become skeptical. That's when you have to ask questions. What is the purpose of this organization? And so I don't necessarily believe in the organization, but I do believe in the concept. Yes, I believe we do matter. I just don't know who's funding this. I don't know.
Oh, I can tell you who's funding this.
Why don't you do that? Tell me.
George Soros is funding this.
Who is this man?
George Soros is a Nazi collaborator, right? A Jewish origin that stole. And I'm not making this up about him. I saw interviews of him mentioning this, that he had to help the Nazi to make an inventory of the Jewish art, Jewish wealth. And if he wasn't the one collaborating with the Nazi, somebody else would. So he did. And this is how he have started to accumulate his wealth. Now, what he's been doing is to finance in many countries
destabilization.
Yes, exactly. And it's always by endorsing a movement that is quote unquote coming from the ground up, right? But it's paying people. You can see when it came to Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, people will show you online ads that have been paid for on Craigslist and other platforms to recruit people and pay them by the hour to go and march. You know, I'm pretty sure right now they have sophisticated their approach to recruit people, or maybe they don't need to recruit anymore because everybody believes in that BS now. So
yeah, you know what? I think that this is running into the territory of what some people would call conspiracy theory.
Well, here's what it is. I will refer you to the man's world, talking about himself, his own history, right? And telling you his position. The rest, like I say, moun ki imbécile, okay, yo pa même. Moun ki sot, yo pa avem. Okay? Moun ki stupide, yo pa suiv mwen. Okay? When I speak and when I express myself, it's not to reach the masses, it's to let everybody with intelligence, everybody with that have perception, to let them feel that they're not by themselves, they're not alone. And that me being out there and just, I'm not even making stuff up. I'll give you the point of reference.
No, me pasó. No.
You know?
I mean, I think that all black people, right? No matter where you live, you have to be somewhat skeptical.
Yep.
You have to ask certain questions. Innately, just the nature of the conspiracy against us means we should be conspiracy theorists on some level. But like I said, when you have certain training in certain careers, there's a code of ethics that you have to abide by. There's a book on certain behaviors that you have to align to. And so I've definitely learned those things.
Let's pause and go back to it. I want to know, what is the codes that you had to abide to? You know, give me.